My name is Shawnia White, and I am a registered dance movement therapist, a dance teacher, amongst other things as well, and I am an urban professional.
In professional environments, I always felt like the odd one out, just for simply being myself.
I was always too urban, my name Domingo was too ethnic, and my dialect was too intimidating.
I was too urban, my hair too ethnic, my dialect too intimidating.
But a conversation with a wise soul a few months back helped me realize my place in this world.
I'm here because of who I am, not in spite of it. And I'm not the only one.
This network represents the tribe of urban professionals who make our presence known and who do it for more than just ourselves.
We do it for our parents and our kids. I now have pride in being a young urban professional of color. I never knew it was possible to be both, but here we all are, proving them wrong once again.
Shout out to everybody in this network for keeping the culture going and growing.
An urban professional is someone who can keep their cool, still be fly, and just keep their cool, keep it professional inside the workplace and outside.
Being an urban professional has its ups and its downs. Sometimes you have to be the example for the younger generation. Today, for example, I was actually walking to this shoot, and crossing the street I run into, somebody almost ran into me because they were standing behind me. I hear them, and I thought it was like a group of little kids, about 3 or 4 of them. One of them had to be about 12 years old, and he clapped his hands about something and said the word. What? So, with that being said, I turn around to give them space, and I realized that this person is 12 years old. Not only is he 12 years old, he's with his mother, who was laughing and walking as if she was proud of his manhood. I say all of that to say, now that we have Shawnia here, someone who's worked with kids and whose passion is with bettering the next generation, we have to have this conversation. What is the right thing to do when you're raising your child? And if you don't want other people judging your children, you should be the one to teach them right from wrong. Right?
I agree. I think that there's a fine line between knowing what's appropriate and what's cool, and being able to tell your children, there's some things you say in the house, there's some things you say with your friends, and there's other things where you just don't go there. And many children just don't understand the difference. Their social skills are off, whether it's with adults or with other peers.
Right. And that was also, I feel like moments like that are learning experiences. So, let's say your child doesn't know it's wrong because all their friends are doing it. But that was the moment for his mom to say, you know why this word is not okay, especially nowadays? And you being because if the type of Latino he's from African descent, we know that. He probably doesn't even. But that goes with the parent's responsibility. Now what happens when the parent doesn't even know what's the right thing?
Yeah, it's tough. I feel like that's when a lot of our children get stuck in the system. They get lost somewhere, and then it becomes a thing where, when is it okay to use the word? Or why is it not okay to ever use the word?
Being an urban professional, someone who looks forward to one day having kids and things like that, how do you, especially you also have a younger brother, how do you help those younger generations to say this is not the right way? Maybe, but I'm sure you show through example.
Yeah, so besides the example of myself, but I also talk to and educate the children and my little brother about where these words come from and what they were used for prior. Because a lot of kids use it because they hear it in songs, but before they were in music and before they were in rap songs and what's popular today, they were used for when our people were enslaved. Slavery was a huge thing, and it wasn't a positive thing to be called a nigger. Whether you call it with a nigger with an ER or a nigger with an A at the end.
And okay, so you grew up in an urban neighborhood. You're from Brooklyn.
Yep.
You went to public school?
Yep.
Right. So what do you feel like your your mother, your parents did for you that other parents might not be doing?
I feel like, for one, my mom made sure that I always dreamed, and that I dreamed or dreamt as big as possible. And she never downscaled it and said, oh, this is where, you're gonna go here because it's close by. It was like, okay, you wanna go there? If you get accepted, when you get accepted, that's where we're gonna make it work. And I feel like a lot of parents are not stepping up and preparing their children to do that. Their parents are like, okay, we're gonna go to what's convenient. And I think that we're placing our children in a box. And even not just the parents, but then the school system as well, and after school programs, other things, because they have a limit to what they feel like they can do in a day. But it's like, why not dream bigger for your children and your program? So I feel like a lot of parents get stuck in a box and they put their kid in another box, and we're just like closing in slowly, and the walls are getting smaller and smaller.
That actually reminded me, when I was younger, there was things that my parents could have done differently, but there were things that they did that I look back now and I'm actually happy and grateful for. So we didn't have everything in the world, but there was something my mom would do where she would sit me down and I would have to read an article from the newspaper to her. And I look back now, and at the time I was kind of like, I don't want to do this. And now I'm kind of like, oh, she was helping me learn. I think the bigger problem there is that in our communities, we use learning as a punishment. It's like, behave, boy, you're going to have to go read.
Right.
I'm going to give you some math work if you don't be quiet. And we need to show them that learning and adapting to new things is a benefit. It's a positive thing. It's not a punishment. I realize that just from listening to you speak, so thank you.
Yeah, it's positive to benefit from it, like just for the fact that you learn more, but it just also helps with so much more. I mean, I remember like when I first got into dance, and the biggest thing I was into was just like, I read about it, I researched it, and that's when computers was cool, and it was just dial up, and it took a long time to get on the internet, but when I got on, I wasn't like, oh, I need to get on AIM. I was like, I want to research this, I want to figure out what careers can go from here, what schools can I go to, and I was learning the same process as trying to figure out and mold my own life, and my mom was open to that. And so with her being open to that and her being able to not punish me by just taking away things, it was just like, I mean, I'm sure I had a adult little like watch on it or something like that, but it allowed me to open up my horizon to what I wanted to be and to all the other things in the world. And so it wasn't a punishment to read, because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read this book, sure, I'm gonna read this book. My little brother wakes up and he'll be ready before anybody in the house, and he's reading a book. Like, I don't know many children who do that, but he finds it fun because it's not a punishment. So now it would be my mom doesn't have to worry about him misbehaving because he's reading a book.
Right. That's the fun thing. Like, how could you misbehave when doing something fun when to you is reading? So what kind of advice would you give to adults who don't know how to be the best parent, who think that maybe the discipline or the aggression is the right way? Well, I'm not saying that it's not, because there should be a balance. But what advice would you give them? Those parents who are raising those kids who are already saying the N-word and who already see learning as a bad thing.
I would say it's hard, because like, a lot of it comes from, how they was raised and what they foresee, but I think that I know a lot of parents, even though people say they don't, but when you're a parent, when you're a human being in general, you always compare yourself to someone else. And I'd like you to think of comparing it to figure out, like, okay, what is little Bobby's parent doing that I'm not doing? Or how are we similar and how are we different? This is beyond race, but maybe, to a point where it's like, okay, Bobby's mom doesn't scream automatically, so maybe I'll give it a chance and I'll talk to my son and say X, Y, and Z wasn't right, or educate your children, and maybe not going straight to aggression, because it's all before the kids are starting to misbehave. There's something behind it. There's something they're trying to tell you, and they're children. You have to remember that they cannot yet verbalize, or they haven't learned to verbalize, or maybe you haven't learned to verbalize how you want to feel or how you're feeling because they're acting this way, and you need to take a step back, and then approach the situation instead of reacting as soon as an action is taking place.
I think another important thing is also meeting the child where the child is, as opposed to expecting the child to meet you where you are.
Yeah.
Right?
That goes for at work environments too.
Right, but maybe playing a game with them and then having a conversation about how their day was would get them to open up to you more. So really meeting the child where the child is.
Yeah,
where he is emotionally, where he is.
Children, right?
Period. Right. I appreciate that. Now, what are your hopes and dreams for your children when you ever have it?
Well, my hopes and dreams is hopefully the world will be a better place. But besides that, is that they grow to be affectionate not only to me, but to others when they see them, when they meet new people, that they can learn to just be honest and open in everything that they do, that they shine so bright, but not just on the outside, but like there's a shine that comes from within outward. Because that just goes a long way, because everyone can become knowledge, have knowledge and become knowledgeable. Everyone has talents and we can work hard, but there's something about someone who's honest in everything that they do, honest whether they need help, honest when they know what they're doing, honest when they're having conversations with others and meeting other people, and that honesty can take you a long way.
And honestly, thank you for doing this. I appreciate you so much. And